41-year-old Gloria Hassemer lived in Santa Cruz, California in 1995. She had 2 children that she had to raise on her own because her husband had passed away. At 9:45 on June 9, 1995, she was arrested by Watsonville police for drunk driving. A few hours later, she was released. Gloria's car was impounded, and for some reason, no officer drove her home, so she had to walk home or hitchhike. She never made it back home, and her family got worried. She was 4 feet 11 inches tall and weighed 100 pounds. Gloria was last seen wearing a blue and black shirt, green jeans, and white tennis shoes. When she was last seen, it was about 4 a.m., and she was walking along Water Street in Santa Cruz. The day after she was arrested on June 10, 1995, a woman's body was found in the Pajaro River at the Highway 1 overcrossing. She was quickly identified as Gloria Hassemer. Investigators were determined to find the culprit, but it would take many years for the case to be solved. In 2020, the case was looked into again. Investigators from the Santa Cruz Police Department decided to make use of DNA technology to help solve the case. They used DNA evidence they had collected from the crime scene that belonged to the culprit and entered it into the public DNA databases. Amazingly, they found a match. 62-year-old John LaRoche. This is a mugshot of him back in 1996. He has quite an extensive criminal background. Investigators believe that there might be more victims of his. He was arrested back in December of 2020 at his home in Turlock, California. Gloria's family expressed their gratitude to investigators in a statement. "We greatly appreciate their hard work, dedication, and compassion they've shown to our family over the years." Santa Cruz County Sheriff Jim Hart said, "This crime shook our community back in 1995, and our detectives have been committed to making an arrest since. We've seen the heartbreak it brought to Gloria's loved ones, and we are proud to be taking this step towards justice." Dolores Wulff lived in Woodland, California in 1979. She had a husband named Carl. He wasn't an abusive husband. Dolores also had 4 children: Carl Jr., Annie Marie, Tom, and Paul. She worked at Woodland High School as a secretary. Dolores was known for her joyful and positive demeanor, and she would have never left her 4 children. According to her husband, that is exactly what she did. Dolores was last seen in August 1979 at her home in Hillcrest Street. When her children asked their father where Dolores was, he told them that she was gone and was never coming back. Detectives from the Yolo County Sheriff's Office immediately started working the case, trying to find out where she was. They never let the case go, but her disappearance would remain a mystery that haunted her family for more than 4 decades. The family believed that Carl was responsible for her disappearance. Investigators found incriminating evidence in the family car as well. At one point, Carl was arrested and charged, but never tried. Investigators were sure that he could be convicted if they only had a body. Carl passed away in 2005. While the investigation into Dolores' disappearance was ongoing, investigators at Bennica Police Department had a mystery of their own. On September 17, 1979, just 6 weeks after Dolores' disappearance, sailors discovered a lower torso that had washed up on the Carquinez Strait shoreline. Since there was no available fingerprints or dental work to use for comparison, the remains went unidentified, buried as a Jane Doe. The case was looked into again this year. The Yolo County Sheriff's Office partnered with Doe Network and Bennica Police Department. The Doe Network is a non-profit organization of volunteers who work with police to match missing persons to John and Jane Doe cases. 11 women that went missing between Sacramento and San Francisco in 1979 were looked into, as the lower torso that was found might have belonged to them. A DNA swab was collected from one of Dolores' sons. The torso was exhumed so the DNA could be collected from the bone. In October of 2020, investigators received the news that thanks to DNA, it is confirmed that it was Dolores Wulff's body that was found off the shoreline. One of her sons, Tom, had this to say: "I think my first emotion was anger, because of the fact that she was found a month and a half after she disappeared, and we're only finding out now that it was her." Some investigators disagree on whether this case is completely solved. Some say that if Carl was still alive, he would be convicted. Others believe that someone else could be the person who took her life. "17-year-old Gladys Arellano lived in Boyle Heights, Los Angeles in 1996. She was beautiful, intelligent, and had big dreams for her life. Gladys was last seen on January 28, 1996, leaving her home. When she failed to return home later in the day, she was reported missing by her family. 2 days later, her body was found off a main road in a ravine in Topanga Canyon. She was assaulted and strangled. Serology evidence was collected from her body, and a DNA profile of the unknown offender was uploaded to the state and federal DNA databases, but a match could not be found. An extensive investigation was completed by the investigators at the time, but it led nowhere and the case went cold. That was until 2019. On November 10, 2019, Los Angeles police arrested a man by the name of Jose Luis Garcia for domestic assault. During the booking process, DNA swabs was taken from Garcia and processed. Investigators then realized that his DNA matched the DNA that was taken from Gladys's body. Detectives visited Garcia and questioned him about Gladys. The crime took place when he was just 19 years old. They obtained a second DNA swab from him. The Los Angeles Crime Lab was then able to confirm that Garcia's genetic profile matched the unidentified sample that was taken from Gladys's body in 1996. On September 29, 2020, Garcia was arrested. Detective Hugo Reynaga said, "We are gratified that we were successful in bringing this tragic case to a close. Investigators are now looking into the possibility that Garcia was involved in other crimes as well."